I think in any kind of publishing industry, whether that's magazines, books, websites, wherever words and consumers are coming together, data is crucially important. I don't think it's going to be important in the future. I think it's important right here, right now. But I don't think that you should 100% rely on data. I think if you do that, you end up with this kind of lowest common denominator output. So I think you use data insights and then match that with amazing editorial gut instinct. And that's kind of what I've always looked for when I'm hiring journalists. Is there someone who can kind of understand the numbers and use that to inform the content they're creating, but also have a great knowledge and kind of insight into the future so they can give people things that they don't yet know that they want to. It's great to have a specialist who can really do deep dives into the data, but I think that we all have to take a personal responsibility. I expect my journalists and my editors to understand numbers as well. I expect them to be looking at the data. And the great thing is you can never underestimate the ego of a journalist, and I expect that's the same for authors too. If they can see suddenly huge spikes of people buying their books, reading their articles, looking at their images, that's usually the way I've managed to hook them into being interested in data as well. And that kind of excitement that they get when they can see the sheer volume of people consuming what they've created, that's when data works with creative people. I don't think that quality and breaking news need to be mutually exclusive. I think big breaking news stories, we need to jump on them very, very fast. People want that information quickly, but that doesn't mean it has to be badly written. What we tried to do at Huffington Post was balance the best of the old with the best of the new. So by the old, I mean proper journalism, fact-checking, interviewing, being out on the ground, eyewitness reports, and the new being what was offered through new social media platforms. So what's the reaction to what's going on at the moment? What's people's instant output in terms of a tweet or a comment on something? And then you kind of pulled those things together. And I think that keeps that lively new age news information, but it also means that they can trust in what they're reading. I think publishers do need to act quicker. I think magazines are learning that. I used to work at magazines like Marie Claire, and you're creating a publication that won't sit on shelves for 3 months. Now, in the book industry, you're creating things that no one will be able to buy for another year, and yet we know that consumer tastes and trends will have changed in that period. And I think there are ways of more quickly publishing content. We know there are, because we're doing it on websites, we're doing that with digital editions. And I think all of that is going to need to move much faster if we're going to really kind of gain the appetite and the interest of this consumer mass that has a very small attention span now, because that's what they're used to. I think the gender divide at the top is a problem across lots of media industries at the moment. I feel very lucky. I worked for a very famous media mogul in Ariana Huffington, who was a great kind of shining light and a great mentor for me. But I've been in those rooms with all the big newspaper editors, and they're all white, they're all male, middle class, middle-aged. And I think that when we change those things, we will see the content that's being created changing as well. Sarah Sands, editor of the Evening Standard, it's brilliant that we've got women running these things now, but they're still in such a small number, and we need role models. And we also need that younger generation to have a belief that they can do it as well.